we're going to learn today in this slideshow, in this presentation, is how we are deleteriously affecting the three main things that we need for survival the most, our air, water, and soil, mainly through what we're eating, what we're doing 3 times a day, and some of us are doing that even more. So we're going to get into the slides now, and I want you all to pretend that you're going for a ride, and that we've been in a spaceship. So everybody get comfortable in your chairs and pretend that we've been in a spaceship for a very long time, and we've been looking for a planet that has the 3 things that we need for survival the most: air, water, and soil. We'd be searching the galaxies. We'd be searching for 10,000 light years for some place that we can land and get off this ship. And for galaxies, we'd be looking for a planet with air, water, and soil. Oh, wait a minute. We'd come to our solar system. Maybe this is it. You know, we'd look at a lot of the planets and there'd be Jupiter, but it doesn't have air, water, and soil. Venus and Earth. This could be the place. This might be the place that we can settle, that we can land. Moon is very significant because the moon travels around the Earth and actually helps the water be pumped around the planet. Planet Earth. Oh, wow, this could be it. So let's get a little bit closer to Earth. First thing that we would see is that the Earth is an incredible looking place. It's beautiful. And the next thing we would see is clouds. And the clouds are very significant because they hold moisture, which is one of the key things we need for survival. Clouds move around the planet, move the moisture around. And the mountains are very significant because they grab the water and they form glaciers, and the glaciers slowly drip down the planet's back over time. The mountains, the clouds, the rivers, the trees, the ants, all the different species on the planet and entities are performing a various function that's integral to the global survival. There's only one species that's out of whack with that whole system. This is a valley where the oldest living being in North America lives, 5,000 years old. The water, the rivers, the streams are like the arteryways of the earth. They're the fluid system that keeps life going on this planet. A lot of it collects inside the ground and gets filtered. How lucky we are to have water. And yet we pay it little regard. Most of the water is in the oceans, 70%, and 70% of our bodies are water. We're very much like the earth and the minerals and the compositions of the things that we're made of, and we share the oceans and the world with countless species. You know, we get our air from plants. The plant life is incredible. Phytoplankton in the ocean give us 60 to 70% of the oxygen. The ozone layer, the hole in the ozone layer, and the ozone layer itself, letting ultraviolet rays come in, is burning the phytoplankton, our first source of oxygen. We also get a lot of oxygen from trees. And at a time where we need more and more trees to filter more and more pollution, we're chopping trees down. We've chopped over half the trees that were on this planet 400 years ago. Trees are incredible. Not only do they give us habitat for animals and food and hold the soil together, they also provide us with incredible colors. There was a man named Thomas Berry who said, "I wonder what it would be like if life resembled life on the moon, and it was as gray and oblique as the moon. I wonder what our imaginations would be like." This is that same valley in the summer where the oldest living being lives. It's a tree, the bristlecone pine tree, 5,000 years old. The smell that comes off of this tree is incredible. They're so smooth from the wind sandpapering them. And the only reason that this tree has learned to survive for so long is it's learned how to change and adapt to its environment, like we have to do. The earth is alive and breathing. Literally, it breathes air in one place, positive ions, and breathes it out thousands of miles away, negatively charged ions. The earth is literally alive. The diversity of the land. The third thing we need for survival is land. How incredible our land is. You know, everyone in this audience is diverse. What would it be like if we were all the same? How boring this place would be. And yet we chastise each other and give each other a hard time for being different. And yet in the Earth's case, when it's different, we rejoice. We could learn from this. The most dominant species in North America used to be the buffalo. Now the human's the most dominant species. And the buffalo never had the responsibility that the human being has, because the buffalo wasn't destroying the things that were in its environment as much as the human. And I wonder, are we grown up enough? Are we grown up enough? Are we wise enough to handle the responsibility of the earth that we have taken on? The animals, the large ones, all the way down to the small ones, are depending on us. Because now we control their air, water, and soil. You know, the frogs are disappearing, the aquatic life. The frogs are being born with 2 heads or 3 legs and deformities. Human beings are 50% sterile because of the PCBs and DDTs that were put in the water 40 years ago. We don't even know the effects of the chemicals we're putting in the water now, and yet we do see that all of our population of species is going down fast in our lifetimes. And the humans, in their audacity, think that they can take out one insect and know what's going to happen to the entire web of life with a chemical that kills an insect, and now 3 more come, and now the farms are chemically addicted. There's a mystery, and there's the things that we don't know. And thank goodness for that, because the humans that think that they know everything are the ones that aren't open to learning. And the ones that think there's so much to learn, these are the ones who are the most intelligent, because their brains are open for more information. The mysteries keep us going. Keep us wondering about what our vision is here on the planet, what we're here for. What are all you here for? Is your life just to grow up and buy things and then die? Or are we here to do something special, to make our lives the seeds of our greatest visions and hopes and become something greater than ourselves? Some of us are, and this will affect the world and all the species that we share it with. Are we taking care of their world while we're out making things, their pristine environment? It's taken a long time to get to this point, and yet short in retrospect of how old the Earth is, 5 billion years old. And let's look at what the human beings have done to it in the last 50. Well, we're trashing pristine environments. We're creating garbage that's winding up in garbage mounds. Sometimes things pass through our hands on a matter of seconds, and then they're thrown away. And the toxins are leaching into the soil and into our water. A lot of people enjoy nature in small pockets in cities. And the cities, of course, breed a lot of stress, foul air that people breathe. We're pumping so much toxins into the atmosphere daily with hardly any regard. We're creating incinerator plants and putting them in people's backyards, and they're spewing heavy metals from car bumpers and batteries into the air, and people are getting sick and wondering why. And a lot of people enjoy nature like this instead of like this. Every time we flick on or plug in, we're damming more water for more power. We're strip mining the earth, blowing the earth up. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do these things anymore, because we'll never go back to the time of the cave people. But certainly, we all can agree that we are way out of balance and we're on a dead-end crash course if we keep going the way we're going. We're dumping oil in the arteryways of the earth and the fluid system of the planet. Hazardous waste, we've created hazardous waste and burying them in steel drums. Steel drums that last 50 to 100 years, we're throwing them in the ocean and they're corroding and leaking, and it's affecting a lot of us here. We've created nuclear power and radioactive isotopes that last for 10,000 years as volatile. Someone's not thinking about our future. We're fighting wars. We're blowing things up in the air. Most of our wars are fought over resources. We're farming the oceans. The Pacific Ocean's getting fished out. And aquatic life that's caught, most of it is not even eaten. It's thrown away as the byproduct. How are we treating the animals that we share this world with? Are we treating them with respect? What's up with the human beings? Will we wind up like other lost civilizations that have left their mark and their mystery, and they're gone? These are great civilizations, but they weren't great enough to make it. We can learn from them, or we can go the same way they went. And our cities and our skyscrapers can become like their monoliths and their structures that make people curious about us in the future. Of course, we'll leave a lot more on the earth than these people have. Because never before has a culture affected the air, water, and soil on a planet for thousands of years into the future. If this is so important, why isn't the news covering it? Why isn't it a major issue? Why aren't we talking about it? Why aren't we talking about how to take care of the future for our children and grandchildren, and it's not the major topic that we're learning? Maybe it's time to do something about it. And maybe it's us. Maybe it's our generation. You know, there's been a lot of people that have done phenomenal things in this country and then around the planet. Gandhi and what he did for India. This man, with peace and love, kicked out the strongest nation on the planet at that time, the British, out of India. One person's life. That's true power. You can't have that type of power with a gun or a bomb, but you can certainly change evolution with your life. Martin Luther King and what he did for civil rights. And all of the countless people that stand up for what they believe in. That have the guts to say, I'm going to start speaking out for what I believe is right. That have the willpower to start doing the moves that make sense. Like, for instance, recycling. If there's limited resources, recycling is a real reality. Recycling of a lot of different products. Alternative sources of energy, like wind and solar. And mass transit. And getting out on our own locomotion. And walking. And getting into nature. And backpacking and climbing mountains and seeing what it's all about. And getting connected to our world on a deeper way. You can't get it from the TV set. You know that the flowers get darker and lighter when the earth needs more or less light, more or less heat? That even the flowers, in their many functions, the flowers have compassion for the planet. What a glorious place we have here. And how lucky we are. We'd miss the species when they're gone. Because each one of them adds to our life in some way. I've been doing this show for many, many years, and I've been teaching about health and environmental education. And at one point, I worked for Greenpeace, and I found out how our food choices were affecting our air, water, and soil so much. I started learning about our food choices and realizing that this was one of the most powerful things that we individually can do for the planet, our health, world hunger, and the economy. Best way to show you that is to go around the world. This black area is where rainforests cover. Rainforests used to cover 14% of the Earth's landmass. Now they cover 6%. Rainforests that have been here for 60 million years, the humans have chopped over half of them in 50. Rainforests give us oxygen. They give us many of the species that live on this planet live in the rainforests. They give us exotic food, habitat for people, exotic animals, and exotic people. And the exotic people show us where all the exotic medicines are for all the exotic diseases that we're developing from the unearthing of the rainforest, releasing virulent forms of diseases. Everything's connected. We're taking rainforests, lush tropical rainforests like this, and in a matter of seconds, chopping them and burning them. In a matter of weeks, clearing acres and acres of land. We're chopping them down. We're burning them. We're chopping and burning a lot of them for livestock grazing. The animals come in to graze, and they nibble away at the soil, and the soil is very fragile because the soil gets replenished by the trees. But when there are no more trees, the soil dies and turns into a desert. And we're chopping these things so fast. Now, once these rainforests are chopped down and cannot replenish the topsoil, it takes nature 200 to 1,000 years to make 1 inch of topsoil. Now that rainforests cannot produce any more topsoil, the land eventually turns into a desert. Animal agriculture, animal grazing actually is causing 29% of the desertification on the planet. So what have we talked about so far environmentally? We're talking about destruction of rainforest. The burning of the rainforest is going up into the atmosphere, accelerating global warming, and desertification. Three major environmental problems directly linked to our food choices. As a comparison, it takes 55 square feet of rainforest to make 1 pound of chopped meat. Well, let's take a closer look at Earth. Let's come home to North America and see what's happening in our land, in the United States. There are 260 million human beings living in the United States. There's 5.8 billion people on the planet. The 260 million human beings, when they use bathrooms, they all use sewage systems. Humans are eating 7.5 billion animals a year for food. That's 20 million chickens a day, 300,000 pigs and 100,000 cows, which use no sewage systems. It's not hard to see where a lot of water pollution is coming from. We used to eat half as much animal products and have half as many diseases. And the only way that Americans can be supplied with so much animal products is in sped up factory farm conditions. Most of the animal products we get come from factory farms. The days of the old barnyard are pretty much history, because most of the animals spend their lives in cages, being fed a mixture of hormones and antibiotics and steroids and herbicides and pesticides and insecticides, and we wonder why our immune systems are getting weaker. This country puts 55% of the antibiotics we produce in animal foods. No wonder why we're getting immune to antibiotics, and they're getting stronger and stronger. These white dots are cows at a feedlot. Now, even a lot of the cows that we see around here eventually wind up at a feedlot. For 4 months, they get fattened up and are fed chemical feeds. Let's take a look at the high cost of animal products. Our government spends $250 million a year killing animals that are harmful to cows and grazing animals. And we think in our audacity, again, that we could take out one creature and know what it's going to do and how it's going to affect the web. We're spraying the land with chemicals, preparing the land for animals to come in to graze. We are way out of balance. We clear the trees, the animals come in to graze, they nibble away at the soil. The soil gets exposed from this grazing and grazing. This grazing is exposing the topsoil. What will we do without topsoil? The wind is washing it away. Irrigation is washing it away into the oceans. And we're not paying attention to it as a society. But the soil and the condition of the soil has everything to do with the amount of food that's available for people. And people that don't have healthy soil have hunger problems. Every 2.5 seconds, a child under 5 dies of starvation or malnutrition. Every day, 38,000 children. Every year, 20 million. If Americans cut down on their animal products consumption by just 10%, there'd be enough food freed up to feed 100 million people, 5 times the amount of people that starve to death. Now, if there's going to be 10 billion people on the planet in the next 15 years, we surely have to look at our food situation. Because world hunger is a situation that we can help. We can become the hero of the world by feeding the world and make money from selling our grains if we didn't filter so much of it through animals. In America, the grains that we grow, 70% of the grains that we grow in this country are fed to livestock. That's 90% of the soy and 80% of the corn, which are the 2 biggest crops that we grow in this country, that also receive the most herbicides, pesticides, insecticides. And in the times since we've been stockpiling grains, our grain supply has never been lower. It takes 12 pounds of grain to make 1 pound of beef. That's conservatively. We can see how that has something to do with world hunger. The water. What about the water? The arteryways of the earth. Out of all the water in the United States, 1% is usable for human consumption. The rest is locked up in glaciers, underground we can't get to. Out of that 1% of water that's available in the United States of America,
We use half of it to spray on land to grow crops. 2,500 gallons of water it takes to make 1 pound of beef. And the largest contributors to polluted lakes and streams in the United States are animal factory farms. Fact, 50% of the water pollution in this country is caused by animal agriculture. There's two main reasons. One of them, remember, there's 260 million Americans, and there's 7.5 billion animals slaughtered for food each year. And all of the Americans, for the most part, are using sewage systems to get rid of their waste, their personal waste. The animals, the 7.5 billion animals, which have a lot more waste, have no sewage system. So where does their waste go? It goes on the ground. And eventually it gets in the water. Just the natural waste alone from the ammonia and the nitrates is affecting the water and causing water pollution. And then you add to it the chemicals that the animals are eating, and that's getting into the water as well. And eventually what happens is it gets into our streams, and it flows down from factory feedlots. And one of the main causes of water pollution is this animal excrement. The other main cause of water pollution, out of that half of water pollution that's caused by animal agriculture, is chemical agriculture. 2 billion pounds of chemicals are sprayed on the land every year to grow crops. And out of the 2 billion pounds that are sprayed on the land, only 1% touches the weed or the insect that it's set out to kill. And where does the rest go? It goes on the ground. And it gets in the water. And these chemicals that we're spraying on the land is affecting our water. You know, chemical agriculture goes on the belief that nature is flawed, and we have to correct it. And yet we see every time we intervene, we affect things negatively and have to correct it again and again and again. And the chemicals that are being sprayed on the land are getting in our water, and we don't even know it, and we're drinking it, and it's very possible that this is causing a lot of forms of cancer as well. All right, let's get a little closer to home. Let's go into the anatomy of the interior of the human body, because we cannot have a healthy environment if we don't have an inner healthy environment. So let's talk about that. All these white dots are cows at a feedlot. Remember, they go there to get fattened up.
And we've heard about this stuff. We've heard cholesterol and saturated fat. Do you know that in 1988, the U.S. Surgeon General said that 68% of the diseases that people die of are diet-related? Diseases like heart attack and stroke and osteoporosis and diabetes and breast cancer and colon cancer and prostate cancer. Even the way some of our skins look has to do with the sugar and fat we eat, ear infections, colds, and knocking our immune systems down. Have you ever heard the saying, you are what you eat? How true that is. The biggest killer disease in America is heart attacks. An almost preventable disease. Some heart attacks are not preventable and are not from food, from a bad valve or genetics, but most of the heart attacks are caused by an excess of saturated fat and cholesterol, and we know where cholesterol comes from. It comes from animal foods. There's no cholesterol in plant foods. Zero, zip, zilch, none. This stuff gets in our bodies, and the cholesterol and saturated fat eventually builds up and forms plaque inside of our artery walls. And most of the people that die of heart attacks and strokes is from saturated fat and cholesterol in their artery walls. This is a plug that came out of someone's artery wall and killed them. And we're eating this stuff for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's in our snack foods. It's in just about everything now. And we hardly even realize it anymore. We've become so disconnected from what we're eating and how it affects our health and the environment. You know, we have known this for hundreds of years. This is not new information, and yet it may seem brand new to you. We're feeding it to our children. We're eating it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't eat it at all, but we're way out of balance. Fast food franchises weren't even here when I was very young. Now your food has chemicals in it and bovine growth hormone that are irradiating our food to kill the campylobacteria and E. coli and salmonella. There's biotechnology. Every year they're coming up with something new and making the food less and less from nature. It doesn't make sense. It's costing us a lot. And when our children ask us, hey mom, hey dad, how come there's not enough air, water, and soil on the planet? What are we going to tell them? It tasted good? Sorry, we ate your future away. It tasted really good. In reality, that's what's happening.
You know, it's interesting, but people say, oh, you're only using 10 or 15% of the brain. Well, most people are basing their decisions on how long they're going to live and the quality of life they're going to live and the environmental quality of their life based on only one of their senses, taste. Taste is the king. And we're not looking with our eyes and seeing the destruction and hearing the facts and feeling the pain and paying attention to our other senses, not to mention the intuitive level of knowing. Go inside. And if you're agreeing with what's being said here, then you're already knowing that it exists as truth to you.
All right, here's the cool part of the story. Plant foods. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Some of the animals with the largest bones in nature, the strongest bones in nature, only eat plants. Plant foods, the heroes for health. Do you know that when we chew up plant foods, it's like chewing up tens of thousands of tiny superheroes that on a microscopic level go into our body and fight cancer, fight disease, fight infection? Plant foods give us oxygen. They also protect our bodies. And when we eat plant foods, it's like eating the plant's immune system. Broccoli, for example. You know, there's some terms that I'd like to teach you so that you know these things on how to prevent diseases. The first one is called phytochemicals. Phytochemicals are incredible. Science found out about these things years ago, and they've already found 4,000 of them. They think there are millions of them. It's the plant's immune system. And when you chew them up, they protect you. Here's an example, broccoli. Broccoli has a phytochemical called sulforaphane. This phytochemical can go into a carcinogenic tumor, cut the capillary off from growing, shrink the tumor, starve the cancer by cutting off its oxygen and nutrient supply from the blood. That's power. Animal foods don't do that, plant foods do, and plant foods have phytochemicals. Fiber is another one. We all think about fiber, but we don't realize that the fiber in plant foods can absorb some of the saturated fat and cholesterol in animal foods and prevent it from getting inside our artery walls. Fiber also protects us from the 5th major disease people die of in this country, colon cancer, because it cleans the colon and the intestines out. There's another one called antioxidants. A lot of people throw this term around, but they don't really know what it means. But antioxidants, like vitamin A and vitamin C and vitamin E, is a powerful form of nutrient that quenches free radicals. And free radicals are from fried food and sugar food and stress and pollution. And antioxidants do this by throwing extra electrons around and quenching free radicals. Antioxidants are incredible superheroes for health. Phytochemicals, fiber, antioxidants, all the beneficial compounds that give us health are in plant foods. It makes sense to eat more plant foods because it's good for you and it's good for the planet. And there's more food for other people around the world. How many of you read labels? Isn't it amazing that the stuff that they put in the food is right there on the label, and most of us are putting it in our body without paying any regard to it? And this is the only thing we take with us. When we buy a car or a stereo or whatever it is, we put a lot of time into it. We research it. But with food, we're willing to put the cheapest, junkiest stuff in our body. Whole grain breads. Whole grain is another hero for health. The whole grain is the outside layer of bran on the outside of the grain. And all your processed flours and cookies and pastas, all that flour has no shell of the grain around it. It's missing a lot of nutrients and vitamins, and it's also missing a lot of the oils. Manufacturers remove the outside layer of the bran so the oils don't go bad. The only reason they're doing it is so the product can sit on a shelf for a year. Whole grain breads are better for you, whole grain products, whole anything. The more whole the food is and the way it came from nature, the better it's going to be for you. Hydrogenated products are things to stay away from. If you go to a health food store, you can save money by shopping in the bulk bins. There are nut butters with almonds and cashews with no hydrogenated oil and no sugar, and jams and jellies made from just fruit. Eating healthfully is a delicacy, and you'll expand your taste buds. Can't talk about health without talking about exercise. I think they're both equally important. And some type of mind exercise in our stressful world. Our food choices are affecting 70% of the diseases that people die of, are affecting major environmental problems from rainforest destruction, global warming, topsoil depletion, water pollution, and world hunger. And our food choices are affecting the economy. You know that our healthcare costs are up to $1 trillion a year? And if it's true, what the US Surgeon General said, that 68% of the diseases that people die of are diet-related, what's 68% of $1 trillion, folks? $680 billion. And if we would only tell Americans how to eat healthier, we could save hundreds of billions of dollars. You add the $50 billion of subsidies that go to these industries in cash, plus reduce grazing rights, reduce energy, reduce taxes, and free water, it's costing us a lot. They've been sending up astronauts into outer space. You know what the diet that they eat up there? Plant foods. And when they think about developing colonies in different places, it's only a plant food diet that they consider because it's the only sustainable one in space. Once you know this, you have a choice. You can close your eyes and be ignorant to it, or we can start speaking out and doing something about it. Some people choose not to do anything. Some people choose to get active. Most people are somewhere in between. No matter what you choose, it's time to do something. Because the best game in town is to take care of the planet. You know, there are countries around the world that are not allowed to speak up like we can in this country. They get killed. Tiananmen Square in China. We're very lucky that our government is accessible to us. The school lunch program is the largest governmental feeding effort in the country. It outspends the military and prison systems combined in relationship to food. It feeds 50 million students in 94,000 schools every day and has a very large draw on agriculture. If we started eating healthier, we would affect our air, water, and soil. Maybe it's time to do something about it, and maybe we're the generation. I believe that we can change the world around us, but we've got to get involved in the game. It's time for us to rise up as humans. It's time for us to do something. Because no matter what the human beings create, we can never duplicate what nature has given us. We can never duplicate the glory and the wonders of this planet. How lucky we are to live here at this time. And now it's our turn to show up and see who we really are. We can enjoy this planet. We can enjoy the species that we share it with and realize that the earth is alive and we are a part of it. And in the silence of this knowledge that we've learned today, maybe we can come up with a new vision. Because the animals might have a message for us. They might be trying to tell us something. Maybe they're suggesting that we work together with them and share this place instead of dominate it so much. And learn to have compassion for the earth like the flowers do. And rise up and be who we've come here to be. I ask you this, can you think of anything more powerful to do at this time and with your lives than to take care of an entire planet, the only one that we know that has the things we need to survive? Can there be anything more exciting than to preserve the air for the future generations? Or the water? Or the trees? Or the land? Or the animals? It might be what we're up to. It's the only planet we know of right now. We might as well take care of it. And at the same time, we take care of ourselves. You know, there was a wise man who told me once that true wisdom equals knowledge and action combined. That you can't have wisdom without either one of those things. And now that you have knowledge, now we can take action.